Should every game have an easy mode? I want as many of you as you can to comment your own answer to this. I feel it'll be cool to reflect on how you thought before this video started compared to how you think by the end of it. I feel to many, this is an immediately easy question to answer. Of course they should. Why not have one? And so on and so forth. But when you actually stop to really think about it, there is a lot to consider. I think when we talk about this subject, a lot of people forget that video games are more than just a product to be bought and consumed. Gaming is art. Shocker, I know, but I say this for good reason. Let's take a movie as an example. This may not seem related, but let me cook for a second. When a big new horror movie comes out and you see it all over social media, everyone's talking about it and it's breaking records left and right. That often invokes a bit of FOMO in people, the fear of missing out. But wait, you hate horror movies. You can't handle the scares or the spooky atmosphere. You'd watch it for sure though if they took out all the scary parts but left the story intact. Would you really though? More often than not, the horror is directly tied to the narrative, so neutering the movie so that everyone can enjoy it would destroy the core experience the writers were trying to establish. This simple idea of taking all the horror out of a horror movie sounds ridiculous to basically everyone, but what they don't realize is that the exact same thing applies for video games, because at the end of the day, as a form of creative expression, developers, writers, and directors shouldn't have to conform to make every aspect of what they make be accessible to everyone, because no one thing is for everyone. There's nothing wrong with wanting as many people as possible to enjoy your art, but you run the risk of, instead of making something for everyone, you end up making something for no one. Video games are a unique interactive form of art. We literally get to interact with it and have it react to us. No other art form is like this. Artists from many other forms of expression have had complete creative control over their art for thousands of years, so it just feels weird to me that video games aren't held to the same standard. Yeah, there are exceptions to this, especially today, but the standard is still that an artist, a director, and a writer all choose how to express their ideas. These forms of artistic expression are more than just products to be sold. But reeling back a bit on the topic of hard games needing an easy mode, one particular series and one specific company are often the first to be brought up, and that's From Software in their Dark Souls series. These games are hard, so hard that the games are used as a way to scale the difficulty of other games. They all often force a player to become extremely intimate with their mechanics, more so than most other games, in order to even beat them. What's worse is that you're often even punished for failing to overcome their challenges. The games are demanding you to learn the matchup or give up, and there have been complaints for years for the devs to add easy modes to these games so that more people would be able to beat them. The problem I have with this is that while yes, as an adult, I also don't have all the time in the world to be dying over and over to a boss fight, and I simply want to keep moving so I can beat the game. But at the same time, there's something lost creatively when the developer's work is tweaked in this way, as if the most important thing about this piece of art is people being done with it. Like, no man, it's about the journey, not the destination. I just dislike the idea of art existing just for people to say they did it, they played it, or they saw it. Listening to a song, for example, just to say you heard it rather than enjoying the song itself just isn't fun, and it's not why most people listen to music in the first place, so it makes even less sense. For another game example, in Kingdom Hearts, an action RPG series known for having multiple difficulty options, it's easy enough for anyone who plays it to beat it. All you have to do is pick beginner mode, and I promise you will not lose to any of these fights. But when playing on easier difficulties, you often lose what makes the design of these fights so impressive. And quite honestly, I feel the games would be much less memorable if you never go through anything at all while playing. But if the devs make a fight that asks a lot of the player, asking them to learn all that you're mechanically capable of and execute these ideas against an obstacle designed to test you, that in its entirety is now gone when all the impressive attacks from the enemy barely leave a scratch. Not to mention the effort needed to overcome these mechanical and narrative walls just don't exist anymore, and at least to me, take me out of the story. Oh, we're fighting a boss capable of wiping out mankind and obliterating planets? Nah man, I slapped him a couple times and that was that, no big deal. And if that's how someone prefers to play their games, that is okay. However, someone who plays on easy mode is not someone I would personally trust to review the complexities of a game's mechanical systems. Easy modes are specifically made for you to beat the game, not necessarily learn the ins and outs of its systems. If the game doesn't ask you to show them what you can do, then what's the point of wasting time with all these mechanics that don't matter? Some may say I'm thinking too deep, but this is quite literally only as deep as a rain puddle. Would you trust a movie reviewer's rating of a movie they only skimmed through? I wouldn't, because they didn't fully engage with the movie. If consumers can't properly critique what makes a game's systems bad or good, then how can we expect flaws to be remedied or sequels to progress forward and learn from its predecessors? I recently began Dragon Age Inquisition after playing the first two games, which I loved dearly, especially the first game. But when I got to Inquisition, just to see the complexity of its systems from the first two games had basically been driven into a ditch, I was kinda heartbroken. The average player is now able to engage with the game a lot easier, with less individual numbers and stats to worry about. But now the ceiling that I loved aiming for when it came to building my characters mechanically just isn't there anymore. Like, it is still an RPG, but this whole thing has felt like going from swimming in the ocean to sitting in the bathtub. There used to be a time in Final Fantasy where a player could directly junction power into their individual stats, allowing the player freedom to build their characters to be exactly how they want them to be, adding a bunch of full life magic to my health stat so now I have 9,999 HP, or putting a ton of meteor magic into my strength stat so I can frequently hit the damage cap is incredibly rewarding. I say all this like it's simple to do, but it's not easy to make this happen. It takes time and effort to purposely get to that point, but the fact is that the game is rewarding my decision to choose to do this. Taking this level of control away from players isn't always a bad thing, because it is factually more complex to leave all this character management and growth totally up to the player. But to be bold enough as a dev to hand the reins over to a player like this is something I'll always respect, because it forces the player to look the stat screens in the eye and learn how your actions can affect things. This kind of thing is often frowned upon by the average player, the casual audience these days, because most don't fully engage with the more complex mechanics of games these days. The developers focusing primarily on casual player feedback may be driving a series backwards, and I feel one of the biggest examples of this is modern fighting games. This is an interesting one because this genre in particular is one where I am the casual enjoyer. Fighting games were often games I couldn't keep up with because of their complexities, but with more people than ever playing fighting games now, developers have been catering to those who don't usually play them, so that now even people like me can use things like auto combos and beat people who grind these games consistently. The ceiling of complexity of these games has also sank a ton, because when you learn things like how auto combos do less damage or that they lock you into specific sequences, you attempt to learn the actual way to play these games, only to find out the execution of these moves in general have also just been lowered so that people like me can pick it up a lot easier, which sounds great for people like me. But for people who live and die by these games, they have to deal with yet another fighting game where the complexity is so low that it's just boring to learn and even more so to play. This problem with fighting game difficulty goes so deep that it could honestly be its own video, but for now I think you get the idea. So what do you all think? Did your thoughts change at all from your initial comment? Or do you still stand by your perspective from before? Let me know that too in the comments below. Let's get a good discussion going. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't already, leaving me a like and a hype to help push these videos in the algorithm would mean a lot to me. And subscribing to the channel and tapping the bell would mean the world to me as we get closer and closer to the big 100,000. Thanks so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce, and remember everyone to play some games, have some fun, and take care of yourselves.